This news program is proudly brought to you by
Smart Start Breakfast Biscuits
and Now Biscuits.
Positive outcomes from PNG-Fiji bilateral meet. Indian government ready for FIPIC. And government committed to improving ICT services. A very good evening. You're watching National EMTV News. I'm Grace Papiali. Thank you for joining us. The hosting of the Fijian Prime Minister extended into a bilateral meet this morning between PNG and the Republic of Fiji, which was very successful according to both sides. Since the arrival of the Fijian Prime Minister James Marape has placed much importance on his visit. This morning, Marape put on a traditional welcome for Melanesian neighbor Fiji by graciously presenting traditional raw food items and artifacts.
Before the formalities began for the bilateral meeting this morning, Prime Minister James Marape led the PNG delegation, which included the Deputy Prime Minister John Rosso, to gather outside APEC House. Following the ceremony, both delegations moved inside APEC House for the meeting and emerged 2 hours later for a media briefing. Prime Minister James Marape revealing that through education scholarships in tourism and hospitality, scholarships will be on offer at the Fiji National University.
He has offered kindly to us some educational spaces for Papua New Guineans. He's offered scholarship, especially in the space of tourism and hospitality industry, for Papua New Guineans to go and get education from the educational institutions.
Marape also revealed that both sides have agreed to give up a portion of land, with Marape, through the work of Lands Minister and Deputy Prime Minister John Rosso, allocating land for the Fijians to build their embassy.
Today I want to also indicate to the country that both nations have reciprocated land. We have made available a land title. Deputy Prime Minister did present a title, and I will be handing over this title at the close of our press.
Fijian Prime Minister Sitiveni Rabuka has been touched by the generous hospitality bestowed upon him and his delegation, and he, along with Prime Minister James Marape, will work together to rectify the issues of climate change in the region.
Our concerns for climate change, we express those in our discussions, and we will continue to strive for acknowledgement of our situation, and also for help where we need help for the rectification of the problems we now have.
Part of the program for the Fijian Prime Minister was to visit Pitapaka War Cemetery in East New Britain Province. However, this has been cancelled, with the Fijian Prime Minister Rabuka apologising profusely and expressing why he could not attend.
I also send out my apologies to them. Suka Naivalu, VCE, was from our province. And the Paramount Chief is the Speaker of the House in Fiji. And if I had to visit, I would have had to get his clearance because of the traditional protocol that would be accorded to me when I go back after visit.
The Fijian Prime Minister also revealed that defence cooperation has been agreed, where there will be an exchange of our forces. The meet ended with Prime Minister Marape handing over the title for land and his counterpart offering him a Fijian Durua jersey. Rocky Iso, National EMTV News.
Renewing friendship, seeking forgiveness and building on our Melanesian alliances was the theme of last night's dinner reception hosted for the visiting PM for Fiji, Sitiveni Rabuka.
It was a night for the Fijian Prime Minister and the diplomatic community. Heads of state-owned enterprises, government ministers turned up early to meet and greet. Traditional songs and dances marked the arrival of both the PNG Prime Minister and his Fijian counterpart. Entering the state function room, tradition dictated protocol, with the Fijians holding a small carver ceremony before the formalities. In his welcome remarks, Prime Minister James Marape was heartfelt in his speech when addressing his counterpart, Fijian Prime Minister Sitiveni Rabuka.
This is your part of Pacific, this is our home, and I just want to appreciate Fiji and Papua New Guinea of our shared heritage. We belong to ancient of all cultures. Whilst the world was still hunting and gathering, we were navigating this part of the world.
Marape also symbolically referring to PNG as intertwined with Fiji.
Your Fiji and my PNG are intertwined at the hips forever. We try our best to stick with you in all your moments. You yourself will have very fond memory when the whole world sort of shied away from you. My predecessor came to you and embraced you.
For the Fijian Prime Minister, this is the fourth visit to PNG, his second as Prime Minister, and he has absorbed the stories of our late leaders in rebuilding his political career.
In my own reflections, I have had the honor of serving Fiji as Prime Minister when the Honorable Bill Skate, Sir Julius Chan, Honorable Fayez Binti served this great nation as Prime Minister. So I've learned from a lot of good men. If you think I'm doing okay now, it's because of all those great men.
The Fijian Prime Minister also emphasized that the PNG-Fiji friendship must continue into the future.
And we should be captains of our own destiny. I believe we can do it. We can. It's still just coming out of the colonial days.
The dinner reception ended with Prime Minister James Marape handing over a framed silver-plated bird of paradise, the emblem of PNG signifying PNG's long-standing friendship with Fiji. Rocky Iso, National EMTV News.
Indian High Commissioner to PNG, His Excellency Imbaseka Sundaramurthy, says India stands ready and will co-host the Forum for India-Pacific Islands Cooperation, or FIPIC Summit. He clarified that this is the third FIPIC Summit for India and the first for Papua New Guinea to host after Fiji in 2014, and all support will be rendered during the course of the summit. He made these comments this morning at the Indian Embassy.
Climate projects.
In a media conference hosted earlier today, His Excellency Imbaseka Sundaramurthy assured Papua New Guinea that India will fully support in co-hosting this third FIPIC summit.
So this is the artist policy through which we want to reach out to the Pacific Island partners, our friends, and with whom we share a common, values of rule of law, democracy. We are co-chairing the summit along with the Papua New Guineans.
High Commissioner Sundaramurthy further explained that India has experienced and faced challenges during its formative years as that of the Pacific Island countries, and as such, common resolutions can be found in the FIPIC summit. He gave an overview of pointers that is most likely to be discussed during FIPIC and other bilateral talks.
The past announcement should be a key for you to know where we are heading towards. And I believe this is going to be a mutually rewarding summit where I would say the Pacific is able to bring the best out of itself, and India is able to do its best. Our areas, what we are looking at is capacity building. We have a very excellent manpower. You must have known the India's capacities in IT. Some people say India is a pharmacy of the world. And I say that. So those are the capacities which we can bring.
This is the third Forum for India-Pacific Cooperation Summit that India is spearheading for the Pacific Island countries to share thoughts and ideas and find solutions on pressing issues that affect the livelihood of communities in the Indo-Pacific region. Lindy Suharupa, National EMTV News.
Papua New Guinea will be the center of attention when leaders of 14 Pacific countries come in for the third Forum for India-Pacific Islands Cooperation Summit. As days are counting down, preparations are well underway in anticipation for the arrival of Pacific Island leaders to Port Moresby.
Upkeep of the appearance and face of the nation's capital has been revamped as days are counting down to the arrival of Pacific Island leaders for the Forum for India-Pacific Islands Cooperation, or FIPIC Summit. These are some of the men who have been tasked to clean the streets of the city.
They're cleaning the road for...
Police, according to the city's Metropolitan Superintendent Silva Sika, have also been tasked to keep vendors off the streets as we play host to the Forum for India-Pacific Islands Cooperation Summit. Papua New Guinea is the third country in the Pacific region to host FIPIC. Island leaders from Cook Islands, Micronesia, Tonga, Tuvalu, Solomon Islands, Samoa, Palau, Marshall Islands, Kiribati, Nauru, Niue, and Vanuatu are expected to arrive in Port Moresby in the coming days. New Zealand Prime Minister Chris Hipkins is likely to arrive on Sunday. Fiji Prime Minister Sitiveni Rabuka arrived in country yesterday, met by PNG's Deputy Prime Minister John Rosso. He has visited a couple of sites in Port Moresby and is expected to travel to Kokopo in the East New Britain province later this afternoon. He returns to Port Moresby the next day for the FIPIC summit. Meantime, Indian Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi is anticipated to arrive in Papua New Guinea on the evening of Sunday, May 21st, in time for the FIPIC summit to commence on Monday. Lindy Suharupa, National EMTV News.
Certain airspace surrounding the nation's capital in Port Moresby will be restricted during the course of the World and Pacific Islands Leaders FIPIC Summit. This no-fly zone includes the Jackson's Airport Aerodrome, which extends from ground level to 10,000 feet above sea level.
Civil Aviation Safety Authority of PNG, through a notice, says some aviation activities will not be permitted during the course of the Forum for India-Pacific Islands Cooperation Summit in Port Moresby next week. These include unmanned aircraft operations, kites, control line model flights, free flight model aircrafts, rockets, gyrogliders and parasails, including drones. Lights, lasers, pyrotechnics and projectiles are also not allowed in this no-fly zone. These restricted area boundaries of the no-fly zone is mostly centered at the Jackson's Airport and extends to 5 nautical miles, 8 kilometers radius of the aerodrome. This no-fly zone restriction came into effect this Tuesday, 16th of May, and will go until next week Monday, May 22nd. Meantime, authorized operations of the PNG Defence Force, Royal PNG Constabulary, emergency services and related foreign security forces, including other operations specially authorized by the Civil Aviation, will be exempted. The general public is therefore notified that failure to comply with these instructions will be penalized with a hefty fine and possible imprisonment. Normal domestic flights in-country continues as we anticipate the arrival of more Pacific Island leaders, including the Indian and New Zealand Prime Ministers, for the Forum for India-Pacific Islands Cooperation Summit. Lindy Suharupa, National EMTV News.
National EMTV News continues after the break. Stay with us. You're watching National EMTV News. The government is committed in ensuring that proper policies and legislations are put in place to see digital transformation in PNG. Minister for Information and Communications Technology, Timothy Masiu, said the government is doing reviews to improve ICT services in the country.
Minister for ICT Timothy Masiu was speaking during the Communication and Information Day celebrations, stating that ICT is key to sustainable growth in human development.
The government, through my ministry, remains committed to ensuring the development of the telecommunications sector and research and information society, empowered by the interconnected world where telecommunications or ICTs enable and accelerate social, economic, and environmentally sustainable growth and development for everyone.
Minister Masiu said the National ICT Act of 2009 is currently under review to improve ICT in the country.
We have also reviewed the Universal Access Policy that is going through executive approval that will provide further clarity and direction in connecting the unconnected communities and citizens of our country.
A major barrier in ICT is affordability. Minister Masiu said these are challenges that need to be addressed by the government.
In terms of availability, the industry and the regulatory system with policy guidance need to ensure quality of services are maintained and network outages are minimized.
Minister Masiu said it is also important to also educate people on cybersecurity that comes with digital transformations. Cynthia Maku, National EMTV News.
In the interest of investing in human capital, the Central Province Government today presented tuition fee support for over 2,000 of its students in 79 different tertiary institutions. The check was presented by the Central Province Governor, Rufina Peter, who stressed that education is very important.
So we picked up the remainder.
A check of about 3.4 million was presented to be released to various tertiary institutions for a total of 2,913 students under the Central Province Government, with the provincial government's theme being investing in human capital to drive change. Governor Peter expressed this initiative's importance.
Integral human development is my first order priority. Amongst my priority, it is first order priority. Although it will take years to see the returns on the investment, I still think that it's critical.
She added that the funding initiative is just a start and that over time, students' performance in their respective institutions and fields will be taken into careful consideration.
And so quality of education, to me, academic excellence is also important. We don't just push anyone through. This is the starting point, so we didn't look at GPAs. But going on from here, we definitely will be looking at GPAs.
The total funding is shared in line with three categories. The first category being universities, the second being colleges, and the third category being skills training institutions. IT Manager for Central Province Governor's Office, Paul Senkai, who took lead in collecting data for the funding initiative, highlighted an issue that had caused a delay in the program being rolled out sooner.
So our main challenge when we came in was to collect the data and see what we needed to work with to better manage the program. And over the last 2 months,
Meanwhile, the governor assured that currently each student would be assisted with 1,200 kina each, of which the government hopes will increase over time. Natasha Ovoy, National EMTV News.
Meanwhile, expressing their gratitude towards the central government's tuition fee support for the funding of 2,913 students in 79 institutions, representatives from various institutions expressed that tuition fee issues had always been a struggle for many students.
Many years, and Funding is an obstacle to anyone's learning.
Expressing that development from a country depend on the young and development of the young lies in education, Antu Royce, team leader academic for Daytech Learning Center, shared what he finds saddening for him from his experience as a trainer.
Most of the painful thing as a academic in charge in the school is many students join. After that they come and say in the middle of the course withdraw because of the financial support. That is really sometimes very painful.
Port Moresby Business College Deputy Principal for Administration Janet Lee expressed the same sentiments, adding that most times it poses a conflict between the students and the institution.
We have a lot of students out there who come in and feel problem and they go off and they have to come back again. We have a lot of arguments with them. They say it's my right, I should be educated. We try to tell them that it's your right to an education, but you must pay.
In attendance to receive subsidy for their institutions were Daytech Learning Center, Kumul Training Institute and ITI to name a few. Natasha Ovoy, National EMTV News.
Kagwa-Erave District Development Authority in Southern Highlands Province is set on delivering roads upgrade in some LLGs. According to Kagwa-Erave DDA CEO Andy Bobola, the first machines for the roads upgrade have been transported to Kagwa mid this week.
After a long while, road upgrades for some LLG headquarters in the electorate are being planned. KEDDA CEO Andy Bobola said the roads upgrade are for Kagwa LLG, Aya LLG, Kuare LLG and Erave LLG. It is understood that under local MP Maina Pano, preparations for roads upgrade has taken place. The call is on the general public to embrace the developments taking place and to engage in worthwhile activities like agriculture. The people of Kagwa-Erave district are also urged to do away with tribal fighting, as the work being done is to connect them to the Gulf Southern Highlands Highway, which runs through the electorate. Amanda Elaitia, National EMTV News.
Now looking at the Nest Fund market report, the Kina closed unchanged at $0.2830 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, Kina was buying $0.2755 $0.4127 Australian dollars, $0.2481 euro, 37.78 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold is trading higher, coffee closed higher, cocoa closed lower, copper closed lower, palm oil closed lower, crude oil is trading higher, copper closed higher. On the stock market, the Dow Jones closed higher, the ASX 200 is trading higher, the All Ordinaries is trading higher. National EMTV News continue after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to National EMTV News. Moving to overseas news now, and New South Wales, Australia, a 95-year-old woman with dementia is fighting for her life in hospital after being tested by police at her nursing home.
We actually don't know the full circumstances surrounding this incident. We are still looking for answers. So as you say, 95-year-old Claire Nowland on Wednesday was tasered by police at Yalambee Lodge in Cooma, which is an aged care home run by the local Snowy Monaro Regional Council. She was taken to Cooma District Hospitals with injuries, and police have called it an interaction. But we have since learned that Claire was holding a knife during this incident. She was suffering from dementia and she had lived at Yalambee Lodge for the past 5 years or so. Police will essentially come from outside the area and investigate, and then that investigation will undergo an independent review by the Law Enforcement Conduct Commission. We have received a statement this morning from the New South Wales Police Commissioner Karen Webb, who says, "My thoughts are with the family at this difficult time. I understand and share the community concerns and assure you that we are treating this matter with the utmost seriousness."
And so can you tell us anything about the condition of Claire?
I've yet to receive an update this morning on exactly how Claire is travelling, but the latest I heard last night was that she was still here at Cooma Hospital, which is behind me, in a critical condition, fighting for her life and surrounded by family members. From what I can gather from Claire, she's a well-known local and she's quite loved by her community. She volunteered for a number of years at the local op shop. She's involved with her local church. And the ABC even did a story on Claire in 2008 where she did a skydive over Canberra as part of her 80th birthday. Her family have asked for privacy during this time, so I think we need to be patient. They are distressed, they're in shock, they are waiting for answers, they're confused, as is, I think, the general public as to what exactly happened here. It just sounds like an incredibly stressful situation, and questions are still yet to be answered.
World leaders are gathering in the Japanese city of Hiroshima for expanded Group of 7 meetings.
The city of Hiroshima is a symbolic location to host this G7 event. It's home to the Hiroshima Peace Memorial, a UNESCO-listed site that serves as a powerful reminder about the utter devastation nuclear weapons can bring. World leaders are expected to visit this site amid increased concern about nuclear instability. Russia has hinted at their possible use in Ukraine, while North Korea is advancing ways to strike faraway cities with nuclear-tipped missiles. And then there's concern about China's military build-up and threats to invade Taiwan. Survivors of the Hiroshima bombing have called for a nuclear-free world for decades. They're now concerned nuclear tensions have increased.
I worry that Russia may be short-sightedly thinking that it is okay for their country to use nuclear weapons.
While the G7 has been keen to show a united front against Russia and China, this year there are some extra additions to the event, including emerging powers Brazil and Indonesia, countries that have taken a more neutral stance. Experts say it's part of a long-term strategic play.
Tokyo realistically knows it's not going to push them to an anti-China position, but is to show them that they have also an interest in cooperating with Japan, to maybe warn them about being more dependent on China, and to basically compete for their attention and their support.
While security and deterrence are expected to be central themes, there are, of course, other issues like climate change and the economy. And then there are the important bilateral meetings that happen on the sidelines. Australia's Prime Minister Anthony Albanese is expected to kickstart his visit, meeting for the first time Brazil's President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva and South Korea's President Yoon Suk-yeol. And then there are still last-minute efforts to try and pull together a quad meeting with Japan, India and the United States after next week's Sydney event was cancelled when US President Joe Biden pulled out to address debt ceiling negotiations back home.
And in Italy, at least 13 people have been killed and thousands have been evacuated as floods swept through Italy.
Authorities in Bosnia have declared a state of emergency and dozens of landslides have been reported in eastern Slovenia. 13,000 people have evacuated their homes in Italy's north. Several towns in the country's northeast are still underwater after severe flooding. More heavy rain is predicted in the coming days, causing concern for residents and rescue services. Manuel Tamani from the Italian Red Cross says firefighters are struggling to reach people.
The first problem is that all the city, big city like Bologna, Forlì, Cesena, have problems for ambulance, for firefighters to reach the houses of the person that cannot reach safe places. And we have 10 helicopters that can bring the people outside the area that are flooded. And people that haven't the possibility to reach safe place with their own cars or their own legs are picked up with the helicopters, 10 of them, and about 60 boats that go through the streets of the cities. It's the first time that I see in 20 years of coordination in Red Cross that so much people inside the city aren't capable to have its own normal action that they made in their own day.
National MTV News continues after the break with Trukai Sports. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. We begin with local sports, and during the announcement of the Commanders Cup tournament this Tuesday, PNG Defence Force Commander Major General Mark Goina says they encourage gender equity. Throughout the tournament come July, a women's curtain racer will be witnessed on the 18th prior to the semi-final playoffs.
An essential component that entails collaboration and teamwork towards achieving any organizational goals and objective requires gender equity irregardless. The Papua New Guinea Defence Force, under the leadership of their reigning commander Major General Mark Goina, has been upholding women inclusiveness in every aspect within their line of duty. Come July 18th, prior to the Commanders Cup semi-finals in Lae, the PNG Defence Force women's side will have a curtain racer challenge against the Lae select side. This was made known by Major General Goina during his keynote address on Tuesday when the Commanders Cup season was officially announced.
In the games, we encourage gender equity of our women, folks in the PNGDF also put up a team, and they will play against the selected side in Lae.
He says this is the PNGDF's contributions towards the government's policy on empowering women, not just in sports, but interior development as well.
It's part of our contributions to government policy on empowering women, giving equal opportunities to women to play sports, or even in career progressions. So this is a contribution, in sports.
Meanwhile, the Commanders Cup tournament is set for kickoff come 12th of July. Lisa Puni, Trukai Sports.
To an update on the National Rugby League competition, and this weekend we'll see the 12 franchises competing in various parts of the country.
A single header will be competed in Kimbe on Saturday, where the home side, the Kimbe Cutters, will take on the Lae Snakes Tigers at 2 p.m. The doubleheader in Port Moresby will be played on Sunday, where Gulf Iso will clash against the ENB Agmac Rabaul Gurrias at 1 p.m., followed by the main tussle of the day, where the Croton Hella Wigmen will face off with the Guest Resources Central Dabaris at 3 p.m. The Lae Oval will play host to Pool A single header on Sunday, where the PRK Mendi Muruks will battle it out with the Wamga Hagen Eagles at 3 p.m. In Wewak, the Pride of the Greater Sepik will take on the NCDC Port Moresby Vipers at 2 p.m. in the single header contest tomorrow. The final match to wrap up this weekend will see the National Sports Institute in Goroka play host to the contest between the home side, the Bintango Goroka Lahanis, and the EPG Engamioks on Sunday. The kickoff is at 2 p.m. Lisa Puni, Trukai Sports.
Trukai Sports continues after the break. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. To overseas sports now, and the Panthers were victorious over the Broncos in the first game of the NRL's Indigenous round last night.
starting the NRL's Indigenous round with a 15-4 win and jumping Brisbane on the ladder too. The Panthers were the first on the scoreboard, and it was the first time this year the Broncos were kept scoreless in the first half. Penrith's Nathan Cleary put on another masterclass, becoming the youngest player to score 1,300 points in premiership history.
Tennis great Rafael Nadal has withdrawn from this year's French Open Tennis Championship.
He held a media conference overnight to break the news, saying he hasn't been able to get his fitness back after suffering a major tear in his hip muscle. That, of course, happened at the Australian Open in January. Nadal is the reigning French Open champion, winning the Roland Garros title 14 times, and this will be the first time he hasn't played there since 2004. He's now taking a break of a few weeks, possibly even a few months, to give his body a rest and hopefully come back to professional tennis for one last year.
My idea and my motivation is to try to enjoy and try to say goodbye of all the tournaments that I have been important for me in my tennis career during next year, and just try to enjoy that.
In AFL, the St Dog Nicholas round kicks off tonight with Port Adelaide taking on Melbourne at Adelaide tonight.
Charlie Dixon will miss again, but Yadjabalti's called up ruckmans Scott Lysett and Darcy Byrne-Jones, while Nam welcomes back Christian Salem and Tom McDonald. Meanwhile, the AFL's released its fixtures for rounds 16 through to 23. The Blues, well, they've been bumped from prime time. No big surprises why. Collingwood's been rewarded, though, for its great form with 4 Friday night fixtures. Richmond will also dominate the blockbuster time slots.
Tonight we'll see the second leg of the A-League semi-finals as Melbourne City take on Sydney FC.
Melbourne City is home to Sydney FC. It was 1-1 after the first leg, and Melbourne has the home ground advantage this time round. Tomorrow night, Adelaide United has its back against the wall away to the Central Coast Mariners. They have to overcome a 2-1 first leg deficit. The Reds will also be without Japanese striker Hiroshi Ibasuki.
And that ends Trukai Sports. The Money Plus weather report is next. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by MoneyPlus, with you always.
The weather forecast for the next 24 hours. In the southern region, Port Moresby City, partly cloudy with possible brief showers. Daru, cloudy periods with few showers. Kerema, few showers. Alatau, partly cloudy with possible brief showers. Popondetta, cloudy periods with few showers. In the Momasa region, Ley City, cloudy periods with few showers and possible thunderstorms. Medang, Wewak and Vanimo, some showers and thunderstorms. In the New Guinea Islands region, Lorengau, some showers and thunderstorms. Kaveng, some showers and thunderstorms. Kokopo and Rabaul, some showers and possible thunderstorms. Kimbe, some showers and possible thunderstorms. Buka, few showers and possible thunderstorms. And in the Highlands region, Mount Hagen City, cloudy periods with some showers and possible thunderstorms. Gurkha and Kundiawa, cloudy periods with few showers. Mendi and Wabek, cloudy with some showers and possible thunderstorms.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by MoneyPlus, with you always.
And that wraps up the news, sports and weather for Friday, the 19th of May, 2023. From all of us here, pleasant viewing. Bye for now.
This news program was proudly brought to you by Smart Start Breakfast Biscuits and Gold Nuggets.